Live from Wrestling 911 headquarters here in Tampa, Florida, I'm Snowman Mother Truckin' Jones with my co-host, The Gargoyle. How you doing today, Gargoyle?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, my Afro brother from another mother?
I'm doing fantastic, and I don't want to waste a minute. I want you and I today to talk about pro wrestling's mix with MMA, mixed martial arts. What do you think about that topic?
I personally dislike it because to me, as a wrestling fan, it takes away from what wrestling is all about. You know, MMA is a completely different style, a different animal, so to speak. And when you bring these guys in, if you're sitting at the bar with your buddies watching a UFC pay-per-view and you're watching Brock Lesnar or somebody beat the crap out of somebody till blood's gushing out and break his arm and everything, and then you put him in there in a WWE ring and you watch him try to make it believable, breaking Triple H's arm or whatever. It just, no, MMA does not need to be mixed in with pro wrestling whatsoever. Now, if a guy wants to possibly try and come in and make a career of that, I would put him under a hood or something. Mm-hmm. You know, it wouldn't matter if it was Brock Lesnar because you could tell who he is by his physique and tattoos. But I'm all against mixing MMA with pro wrestling.
Okay, well, let's talk about the other way around, because last night we saw Dave Batista take on was it Lucero in an MMA match that was on demand, I believe in DirecTV. It was also on demand online. Did you get a chance to check that out? Because I know it was posted on Wrestling 911's news forum this morning.
Yes, actually, I did, as I was drinking some coffee and reading some stuff on the forum, and I watched the match. Batista there, he has a potential. He's a big guy, strong guy, looked to be in phenomenal shape. I thought the fight itself was a little sloppy compared, I guess, to what you're used to seeing on the UFC, which is the major league of MMA. But, you know, it's his first fight. What can you say?
Well, here's my 2 cents on it. Like, neither guy really looked like they knew how to throw punches. Like, Batista is a big, strong guy. I think he's probably too muscular and too where he can't throw a good punch. You know, most boxers, they may be somewhat muscular, but they don't have these just bulging biceps and shoulders, just because your arms need to be able to move and they need to be able to move quick. It's not about just being able to bench press 700 pounds. It's about being able to throw your arm as fast as you can and make a strong connection. And Dave Batista,
flexible.
Yeah, he didn't have the flexibility. And Dave Batista, I mean, I'm sure his right hands, and if he hits a hammer fist, it's going to break someone's face open. But in the same regards, if you would have just put him in there against a professional boxer, because that's pretty much all he did was punch, if you would have put him in there against a professional boxer, he probably would have got his ass kicked.
No doubt about that. A good boxer, even a semi, you could have put George Foreman in there at his age. He would have beat Batista's ass just by the simple fact that he knows how to punch, cut corners, and bring the angles in.
Right.
He'd beat his brains in.
So I didn't see him throw any combinations. It didn't seem like he had the speed or flexibility to hit a couple different combinations. And I didn't see Dave Batista do any real tie-ups. You know, he had the opportunity when he was behind Lucero to try a rear naked choke, to try a few different things. And, I mean, it works for him because he's 265 pounds, so he just kept punching the guy in the back of the side of the head, because you can't punch him in the back of the head. But I didn't see him being a pro league fighter. He's fun to watch because, for me anyway, it is interesting to see if a Dave Batista can actually get in there and mix it up. And he can. He's a decent fighter, but I don't think he's world-class quality by any means.
No, you put him in there, and, you know, he was the badass in the WWE, and you put him in the cage with some guy, and you're thinking, wow, okay, this guy was supposedly a legitimate badass professional wrestling. Will he be able to do the same thing in MMA? He doesn't project that image to me, where on the other hand, you take Brock Lesnar, who had, you know, amateur wrestling skills before he went into pro wrestling and then trained in the MMA. He looked a lot more comfortable and a lot more qualified to be in an MMA cage than Dave Batista did.
Right.
He got in there, he made some rookie mistakes in his first fight, had the guy dominated, then got caught with a leg lock, and had to tap out. But Brock Lesnar, he proves that a pro wrestler can make it in MMA if you have the skills. But I agree with you, Dave Batista is nowhere near first-class quality MMA material.
Now, with Brock Lesnar, I think he was a tremendous fighter. He's had a lot of health issues that have kind of forced him out of MMA. But in the same regards, I do think he was a little overrated because everyone knew his name. He was a former WWE champion. He looked imposing. He was an NCAA champion. He was just so much bigger than your average guy at the time in UFC. And he was charismatic as all hell out in the ring and pissing people off and doing what he did. So he got huge pay-per-view buys. But frankly, I think they gave him an easy route to the title. And he was a quality champion, but I don't think he is... I wouldn't put him in the top 10 MMA fighters of all time, even though when he was being pushed by UFC, they made it look like he was the second coming of Jesus out there.
Oh, absolutely. I believe you. That was Dana White and the guys, his partners there that run the UFC are not stupid. They're smart businessmen. They knew the extra audience they could bring in from the WWE fans with Brock Lesnar becoming into the UFC, and by pushing him and making him the champion, just like in the WWE, it's all about business. They knew they were going to make a lot of money, and that Lesnar had enough ability and credibility that he could put on a good fight. And if he held the belt for a while, great. If not, you're still going to get that extra name recognition, and he has enough skills to hang in with your top 5 guys, in his weight class and be a threat to the title at all times. But I'm with you as far as a top 10 MMA fighter of all time, no way.
Yeah. And then, okay, let's go back to the Batista-Lucero fight. And I think I may or may not be saying that correct. But the other thing about this, now, I haven't been watching real closely. I've been listening to what people are saying on 911Wrestling.com's wrestling forum. But it's my understanding that Lucero was a replacement fighter against Dave Batista, and the replacement only occurred on October 2nd. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes, that is correct. The Lucero guy, he took the fight on short notice due to Batista's opponent, I believe, got arrested.
Yeah, he violated his parole.
He was able to get out of jail in time to make the fight.
But what does that do? You've got a 300-pound Lucero who's, I believe, pushing 35 years old. He's no spring chicken. He's 300 pounds, and he has 4 days to prepare for a fight. You would think that his cardio isn't there. He doesn't really know his opponent. He hasn't been training. And he's 22 and 22, something like that. And you would think that this guy's probably on the downside of his career. He's fought way too many fights. He's probably got long nagging injuries from being in 40+ fights. I wouldn't think that this guy's a quality opponent, because he probably, like most MMA guys, they're beginning of their career, they're 15-5 or whatever, and then towards the end of their career they start losing more matches than they're winning. So by the time they retire, they're 22 and 22, and they're beat up old has-beens. And not to say that Lucero's a has-been, but I don't know that this guy really was much competition when it comes to real quality fighting.
Oh, I'll agree with you, and that's probably why they put him in there against Batista. And like I said, I'm not calling the guy a has-been or a tomato can or whatever you want, but they didn't put a guy, I think, in there that would really give a threat to Batista that he would lose, because I believe that they're going to try and build him up like the UFC did with Brock Lesnar, to draw in that casual wrestling fan to watch their pay-per-views. And the guy had enough skills on short notice to...
put in a decent match. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Okay, so the other thing going on tonight in my backyard in Orlando is this King Mo guy and Muhammad Lawal, and I'm not even sure how to pronounce his last name, and I guess that's why everyone goes and calls him King Mo. What do you know about this guy? Because I haven't been watching TNA as closely as I should, so maybe you can give me your 2 cents.
I watch TNA a little more than I do the WWE, because sadly that product is still kind of sad too.
Yeah.
With it's well known my documented hatred for Hulk Hogan, and what I think he's doing is killing TNA, but they brought this guy, King Mo, in. He's a Bellator fighter. I do not know if he's a title holder in his weight class, but they're bringing him in to be the special guest referee / enforcer in the Bobby Roode, James Storm culmination of that feud that's been building over the course of the year.
Right.
So they're bringing him in, and he came out there Thursday night and knocked Bobby Roode down, and he's at this little half crown that wearing, and his glitzy cape looked like he bought at the dollar store and all that, which to me just ruined any credibility that the guy had as an enforcer, because they made him look like the clown.
Right.
He should have came out, maybe in a business suit or something, looking professional, or maybe a referee's outfit, but they put him in the glitzy crown and the little half tiara crown or whatever. It was terrible, and it's just, to me, it shows the management of TNA once again has no clue what they're doing, because what does this guy bring to the show to help TNA to bring in viewers and wrestling fans? Absolutely nothing. 99% of the wrestling fans don't know who King Mo is.
No.
Probably 99% of them don't even know what Bellator is.
Mm-hmm.
So what is he doing to the show? Once again, here you're paying money to some guy that's going to contribute absolutely nothing to the buy rate of your pay-per-view. He's not going to contribute anything towards drawing more viewers to your regular weekly show. I think it's terrible. Bad idea.
Well, and the interesting part is, he is part of Bellator Fighting Championships. But before that, he was a collegiate champion. He worked for what was called a Real Pro Wrestling League, and then he narrowly missed making the Olympics in either 2008, I believe it was. So the guy has some legit wrestling background, but he also has some pro wrestling background, and I question whether, and I almost think that they're going to bring this guy in as a pro wrestler and have him on a several-year contract. So maybe this is a guy that they're just trying to display his MMA background, but because he's getting a little old for MMA, they're going to use that as a gimmick to get him over as one of their next wrestlers.
That could be. Now, I myself was unaware of his wrestling background because, like I said, I hadn't heard of him other than just the casual news that I follow MMA a little bit, not as much as I like wrestling, but, I've only had casual knowledge of him, so maybe they're going to try and build him up kind of, in a Kurt Angle style character with the amateur / MMA background.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but to me, it's, I don't think he's going to do anything to help TNA.
Yeah, he did spend a week or two at OVW. He has turned down contracts with the WWE before when he was getting into MMA. So I don't know that we're not going to see this guy for the next year or two. So this may just be an introduction and their way of using him as a new pro wrestler. But frankly, I don't think enough word is out on the streets yet. This may just be a one-time deal. We'll see.
Yeah, kind of like TNA. They just keep rehashing old things to me, because it's basically the same thing they did 5 or 6 years ago when they brought in Tito Ortiz to be the special guest referee enforcer to end the Jeff Jarrett AJ Styles feud.
Right.
But at least Tito Ortiz had worldwide name recognition.
He was known and had a lot of charisma, so he would maybe increase pay-per-view buy rates, where King Mo isn't known enough to where you're not going to get 5 more buys for this guy.
Exactly. That's why I think it's a mistake. I'm not saying that the guy might not have the ability to develop into a good wrestler or whatever, but, he's just too much of an unknown.
Right.
Like you said, compared to Tito, everybody heard of Tito Ortiz,
right.
The bad boy from Huntington Beach, and, he had charisma, he could talk.
Right.
As well as back up what he could do in the cage. So, I don't know, TNA, I really wish they get rid of Hogan and get somebody else in there to try and save them and give the WWE some actual competition. It just depresses me.
All right, well, folks, I'm Snowman Jones. This is The Gargoyle. We're almost at the 15-minute point. Check us out every week. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/911wrestling, and check out The Gargoyle's site at frontrowfanatics.com.